Hi all, today we're going to talk about CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, this very cool cybersecurity company which was one of the winners of 2023 and 2024 and dropped by about 50% if we're taking the top in 2024 and the bottom to which it dropped. So the logical question is, do you buy the dip? Do you buy this company right now when it's selling at such a discount? Today we're going to talk about all of that and actually discuss the financials of CrowdStrike, how the global outage implicated the company, what can we expect from the company, and kind of our plans for the stock. So unless you have been living under a rock for the past months, you've probably seen a news of a global outage which happened on July 19th, where a lot of computerized systems, for now it's estimated for about 8.5 million, but I think there are a lot more, probably in tens of millions, were affected by a bug which was found in CrowdStrike release. So a lot of global operations were affected, including hospitals, banks, airlines, TV broadcasters, supermarket chains, and a lot more, which can explain why, first of all, CrowdStrike dropped so much, and second of all, why some of its peers, most notably SentinelOne and Fortinet, actually gained so much during this crash. Apparently, a lot of companies decided that putting all of their cyber-related eggs in one cyber-related basket is not a good approach to diversification, and a lot of CrowdStrike peers right now kind of have new business on their books. These are still early days to fully grasp the implication on actually the business and the numbers, but we can already see a couple of things. So Microsoft, for example, in their latest reports actually announced that they have 20% year-over-year growth in security customers, which reached the number of 1.2 million. By the way, stay until the end of this video, because at the end we will discuss the strategy about the stock and what to do with it if you already have the stock, and what to do if you have the money but kind of thinking about buying the stock. Now let's discuss the financial implication for CrowdStrike. If you take a look at CrowdStrike financial reports, you will see two interesting numbers. First number is called ARR, annual recurring revenue. So CrowdStrike, as a subscription-based company, they are taking the value of all of their subscription, making out of them analyzed revenue, and they're reporting on this revenue. So this is one number which you need to keep in mind. The second number is something called RPO. It's remaining performance obligation. So these are all of the money which customers need to still to pay to CrowdStrike, and this is kind of the remainder of the revenue which the company will receive. During the last quarter, the company announced that ARR was 3.65 billion, and it actually shows a growth of 33.6% year over year, and RPO was 4.7 billion, which again grew 42.4%. So these are two numbers which you need to keep in mind when you are looking at financial statements of the company. If you find this information valuable, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. What I am worried about as a potential investor is that for now, the company, which was so much affected by, first of all, the crash and the bug, and second of all, by all the negative publicity which happened to the company, I am really worried that the company would start offering deep discounts to its existing customers and to actually new customers to kind of try and attract them. And this will negatively affect the company's margins. For now, margins are pretty good. So gross margin of the company is 78% and the operating margin is 22%. This is what was reported last quarter. So right now the company is in the year 2025. The quarter before that was Q1 of 2025, and the company pretty unexpectedly raised guidance for the whole year, for the whole 2025. And the raised guidance was for revenue to be 3.99 billion. So it's 30.3% growth year over year. And for EPS, earnings per share numbers, to be $3.99 per share, which is a growth of 28.8%. By the way, when I'm reporting on the guidance, the companies never give like the actual number, they always give range. So when I'm saying some number of the guidance, I'm taking the midpoint of the company's range. So what we don't know if this guidance, which the company gave before the crash, would still stand after kind of everything we know right now. And this is important because if the company comes out and says that the guidance still stands, everything is good. But maybe there are some things which will affect the company's performance in the current quarter and the quarter after that. One of the things that could make an effect is the number of legal ramifications. For now, already, the company having legal problems with Delta Airlines, who are seeking legal claims of up to 500 million from both CrowdStrike and Microsoft, and this may only be a beginning. We have already heard that the CrowdStrike and Delta Airlines already face federal class action lawsuits from the affected airline customers, and actually we have a lawsuit from CrowdStrike's investor suing the company that the company has failed to disclose risks which are related to not properly testing the software which they are releasing. So this is kind of a bullshit claim because this happens a lot. If you see a company which suddenly drops by a lot, let's say 50% or something like that, on some negative news or some negative reports, you will see class action lawsuit in which investors are suing the company because the company failed to disclose something, as if this investor would not buy the stock if they read the fine print that there is such a risk in the quarterly review. So I would think the last kind of lawsuit of the investor is not really going to affect the company. Usually these are dropped or settled for pretty low sum, but the lawsuit of Delta Airlines is pretty important. And the implications are so not clear that the analysts themselves don't really know what to do with that. And this can be seen in the consensus numbers which analysts projecting for the company. So just to kind of explain everything from 2017 to 2024, the average growth rate of the company, if we're talking about the revenues, was 78.5% every year. And before the crash, analysts were expecting a growth of 26.3% for the revenue and 20.5% for earnings per share. After the crash, analysts kind of lowered their expectation for the revenue to 25.9, but for some weird reason, earnings per share actually grew from kind of 20% to almost 25%. So I'm not sure analysts themselves know what to expect from the company from now on. Having said all that, the valuation of the company is not very cheap. If you go and look at the cyber-related companies, you will see that kind of their valuation and their multiples are all over the place. So what I've decided to do is to take the implied growth for these companies over 2026 and to take forward PE ratio. You will see I have prepared a table, by the way. You will see that the kind of growth numbers and multiple numbers are all over the place, ranging from like 20s, 30s to almost 300 for Sentinel-1. So in order to try and normalize that, I have made a PEG ratio, kind of forward PEG ratio for these companies. So you can see that CrowdStrike is not really cheap. It's somewhere in the middle right now. And the cheapest one are actually Sentinel-1, but I would not trust numbers of 300 PE ratio. And one of the cheapest is probably Fortinet. But before we jump into kind of conclusion that you should buy the stock of the company or you should not, let's talk a little bit about the products of the company and what makes this company so unique. So the company has Falcon product, which is kind of really cool in the cybersecurity world because first of all, it's cloud-based, which means that deployment of this product is very easy and it is very scalable, which is of course great for big enterprise customers. Second of all is the advanced threat detection. The company deploys AI-based algorithm for advanced threat detection, which allows them to detect threats which were previously unknown just by looking at the patterns of behaviors and actually reduce false positives. The third thing, and this is something we've talked about on a video of the best AI stocks, is deploying the chatbots. So cybersecurity software is kind of known for being very hard to install, properly configure and operate. And what the company is suggesting is to allow even less experienced user to properly configure everything and to run operations smoothly. One more thing I really liked about the company is the management. First of all, the company always beats expectation, which means that the managers have a good grasp on the financials of the company and what is expected from the company by analysts. The second of all, I liked how they handled this whole outage thing. So the company explained what happened pretty clearly. They took responsibility, and I'm pretty sure they will be extra vigilant about the quality of the product which they are releasing right now. So based on all of this, I'm proposing 3 things. Thing number 1, on August 28th, the company will release results for Q2. Let's take a look at these results and see what the implication of this crisis are on the company in the current quarter. Probably they will not be so severe, but I just want to make sure. Second thing, probably the most important, is the guidance of the company. We need to see how company's management are projecting company's performance into the future. Is the guidance which they raised in Q1 stays the same? Because if they're coming back and saying that, guys, nothing changed. Okay, we have, I don't know, $300 million to pay to Delta or to settle some lawsuits, but the plans of the company have not changed. CrowdStrike pretty much goes back where it was. If, however, they go and say we need to lower the guidance, we need to go and do the proper valuation of the company, because right now we cannot evaluate the company because we don't know the implications that this crash had on company's performance. And third thing, about buying the dip. So I get asked in the comments, should we buy the dip? My answer is pretty much always the same. Do not buy the stock when it goes down. So for example, for CrowdStrike, if you have some kind of a number in your head, for example, $250, which you want to pay for the share of CrowdStrike, don't buy it when it reaches 250, because you will never catch the dip. Wait for it to actually bounce back, and when it reaches 250 on its way up, then go and buy the stock if you want to. So this is kind of my vision for what to do with the company stock. Anyway, we will wait for August 28th, and then we can do a proper evaluation on the company. For now, if you have shares of CrowdStrike, I would not sell it. I would just hold them. If you don't have shares of CrowdStrike, I would not buy it. Again, I will wait for the results of the management. That's all for now. Thank you very much for staying. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much, guys.